Coming up on Access AC Live, we have alternative violinist D Sharp. You don't want to miss this. Welcome to Access AC Live. We're broadcasting from One Atlantic Events located at the Pier Shops at Caesars. One Atlantic Events overlooks the ocean and the boardwalk in Atlantic City, and it's the only event center that does this. So if you have any type of meeting or event, definitely check out One Atlantic Events. On today's show, we are talking to violinist D Sharp. Now, when you come to Atlantic City, there's all kinds of entertainment that you can find in all of the casinos and in some of the smaller venues as well, but not as unique as D Sharp, and we're going to find out why in a minute. Thank you for coming on the show, D Sharp.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us about your name, D Sharp. Where'd you get that?
Let's see. When I was about 15. I was looking for a stage name. Was trying to be cool.
Okay.
And I came up with a lot of different. I wanted something musical. I came up with a lot of different names that just would not work. And people used to call me D Nice in high school.
D Nice.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was like, hey, let me switch that up and make it D Sharp, which is a musical note.
Right.
And it kind of stuck. My parents even call me. They don't even call me Derry. They call me D Sharp. Like
That's
everybody
cool.
calls me D Sharp now.
Well, it's different too, and I know your style of being a violinist is different as well. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I did strictly classical music for the first maybe 3 years of performing and playing. And it just wasn't enough for me. I love classical music. I always will have a love for it because it taught me so many things. But I used to, go to my radio and just listen to the radio and just play songs and play them for my friends, and they would just go crazy when they heard it. And so I guess they gave me fuel to do more original stuff like that, and then start creating my own music. And I've always had a love for other types of music, like dance music, hip hop, R&B, rock, and all that type of stuff. So I figured, why can't I, use these different genres in what I'm already doing? I hadn't seen anybody else do it before,
yeah,
but
it's unique.
Seemed like a cool idea. So I started, branching out into other genres and creating my own stuff, and here I am today.
So you create songs from existing songs, or do you create your own unique music?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Mm-hmm.
That's great. Now, I know recently you were featured at the Apollo.
Yes.
And you came in what place?
First.
That's right, first place. That is so unique. Now, do you play with a normal violin, or I see here we have a nice, cool, clear violin? Is that one that you play with? Or?
Well, actually, I just got this in the mail the other day from Poland. That's not the one I played at the Apollo.
Okay.
But, the one I played at the Apollo is a normal acoustic one with a pickup on it, but it's silver.
That's cool. Hey.
Yeah, nothing's ever normal around me. But the Apollo, how that came along, what was it? I actually first started doing the Apollo in 2005, in my senior year in high school. And I did Amateur Night on Tour, which came to Birmingham, Alabama. And so I went there and I performed. I actually didn't win, but they called me to come back to Amateur Night at the real Apollo Theater.
Wow.
And so I went and I won first place all 4 times that I did that.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Crazy, right?
Yes.
And so I finished those competitions in December of 2005, and then they called me to come back to Showtime at the Apollo, which was the televised show. They called me to do that in March of 2006.
Okay.
Did that. It was an awesome experience. I
imagine.
I had a lot of fun doing the whole Apollo thing. So how we get to now is I auditioned for, I can't remember what I auditioned for.
Okay.
But I got back in contact with the lady that I worked with at the Apollo in 2005. And she was like, hey, let me know if you want to come back to the Apollo and compete for $10,000. When I heard that, I was like,
you're like, yeah,
dollar signs in my eyes.
Yeah, of course.
So I went back on July 4th of this year and won first place.
Wow.
I went back at the end of the month for the show-off competition with all the winners.
The winners from the previous ones.
From July, won first place again. So now I go back on September the 5th, and if I place in that, I will go back on Halloween and compete. If I win that,
that's big money.
The one on Halloween, $10,000.
Wow, you'll win.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're so unique. I mean, it's such a cool concept to think that someone goes to school to be a violinist. Let's go back to even when you were younger. How did you know you wanted to play the violin?
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't.
Just kind of happened?
Well, when I was in 6th grade, they told us to choose, like, it was like the first couple of days of school. They told us to choose band, art, or string orchestra. I chose the band. I thought I wanted to play, the trumpet or something, because I didn't really know about a lot of different instruments. I know I wanted to play music, but I just didn't really know
which one, of course.
So I got to the band, and they said that they didn't have any more school instruments available that we could borrow from the school. My family didn't have money to just go buy an instrument. So they told me that the orchestra had, instruments we could borrow, and I was like, well, okay. So I went and started playing viola. Viola is my primary instrument. That's the one I've always studied.
What's the difference between that and a violin?
Viola's a little bit bigger. This is actually the size of a viola. You can tell it's a little bigger than a violin would normally be.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and it has a deeper tone. So I started playing viola, immediately fell in love with it the first day that I had it. Didn't even know how to play the instrument. I just knew I loved it.
Okay.
I started playing, I couldn't put it down, and I played it every day. I can't say that I practiced every day, but I played every day.
So you just picked up rhythm yourself, and you learned how to do it on your own. Also, of course, in school, you learned all the technicalities with it, but
yeah, and I think I always had a musical ear, and I think when I think about it, I think I've always had perfect pitch. You know what perfect pitch is?
I don't know.
Well,
you tell us.
Perfect pitch is when somebody can go to maybe a piano or something and play just some random notes, and I'll be able to tell them what notes they are without even looking at the piano or having an instrument in my hand. Or they can play a chord, and I'll be able to let them know, what notes are in the chord.
Right.
Or you can even like knock on a wall or something. I can tell you what note that,
really?
that it was that you knocked on.
Wow, that's a gift.
It's kind of crazy. It's a gift and a curse, but more of a gift.
Gift, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people would like that.
It's pretty cool. It's a cool little trick that I show people every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, it's very neat, especially for professional musicians, and you're competing with all these great people, and now you're performing with all these great people.
It makes it a lot easier to, pick up on songs, like when I'm playing in clubs and everything with different DJs.
Yeah.
I can jump right in and play with them because I already know what key it's in just by listening to it. And a lot of times I've probably already heard the song.
Do you have any, is there any controversy, like, because you're such a big guy and you have this violin, how does that, do people ever say anything to you, like, why did you pick that? You could have been, with a bigger instrument.
Well, of course, everybody always thinks I play everything but violin.
Right.
Viola. They normally think I'm a drummer or maybe a bassist or something like that.
And then when they see you, they're probably like, oh, wow, that's awesome.
And that's that's really what I like. I like getting on stage with a violin and people are like,
shock factor, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And normally when you see somebody with a violin, your first impression is probably going to be wake me up when it's over.
Right.
So I love to get out on stage and give you something completely unexpected and something high energy, and maybe even make you dance, and just leave you walking away with a new outlook
on the violin,
on an old instrument.
So where can we find your music? Why don't you tell everybody if you have a website?
Yes, you can find me at dsharptheviolinist.com. You can find me on Facebook. You type in Who is D Sharp or type in D Sharp. You can Google that. You can find me on YouTube. I am D Sharp. Twitter, Who is D Sharp. Just Google D Sharp.
Yeah,
and you'll find me.
You'll find you. That's so cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, D Sharp. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we want to thank D Sharp for coming on the show today. And like he said, you can find him online on Facebook, on YouTube. Just Google D Sharp and you'll find everything about him. And make sure you check him out when he performs in Atlantic City. That's it for this episode of Access AC Live. We're broadcasting from One Atlantic Events at the Pier Shop at Caesars in Atlantic City. For more information on our show, you can check out accessaclive.com. I'm your host, Whitney Ullman. Until next time.